Imagine the first rays of morning light breaking over the American cowboy as the land and cattle sprawl across the horizon. The saga of the American cowboy and his horse did not start on the dusty plains of the West. It began in the Florida marshlands, on the back of the Florida cracker horse. In a world where ancient traditions meet modern horizons, there exists a timeless bond between humanity and its strongest companion, the horse. I'm Emily Richards, equestrian and adventurer. Together, alongside my horse Calypso, we'll traverse these unique landscapes, not as mere observers, but as participants, uncovering the rich tapestry of traditions, training styles, and philosophies shaped by this timeless partnership, shedding light on the remarkable connections that transcend language and borders. As we journey through these distinct cultures, our quest isn't just to document, it's to listen, learn, and preserve the wisdom passed down through generations, ensuring the legacy of these horse cultures. In 2022, Calypso and I spent 10 weeks in Florida, learning from these ranchers and their horses. The story of the Florida cowboy began centuries ago when the Spanish explorers brought and subsequently abandoned the first horses in these lands. These animals became integral to the state's cattle industry, shaping the lives and livelihoods of the Seminole and early settlers. Being livestock like none other required a cowboy like none other, giving birth to the Florida cracker, a name earned by their skilled use and reliance on cow whips. Unable to gather up the livestock, they had to hunt out and collect the cattle individually from the surrounding swamps. This required confident, agile horses, as well as loyal, tenacious dogs, and the use of cow whips to drive the cattle out of the dense growth. The Florida cow hunter tradition is distinctive, influenced by and adapted to the unique environment of the marshlands and prairies. Here, the weight of time has altered this way of life, but not diminished it. Found in the southeast United States, the Florida cracker horse, also known simply as the cracker horse, were companions to the Seminoles, early settlers, and later on cattlemen. The ancestors of these horses are Spanish stock that was abandoned in the swamps during the 1500s.
Back then, a lot of these woods was rough, and so when I mean rough, there was not like improved pastures. There was a lot of palmettos and stuff like that, and that's just kind of the way that the country was then. And the cracker horses can navigate through that, like the palmettos. They wouldn't stumble and fall with you, so pretty good that way as far as being able to navigate through those rough woods. Back probably somewhere in the 60s, they started the Cracker Horse Association, and there was a few pockets of horse people that still bred what they call cracker horses, and they're built a little different. The cracker horses are real narrow-chested, that probably helps them be able to get through the woods and stuff a little better. A lot of stamina. You know, they're not horses that's going to run a quarter-mile race, but there's a lot of stamina that you can just keep riding. So Dad was real adamant. He didn't want you to trim his horse's mane nor to trim their feet. He felt like they should just be able to go.
If they got good feet, you don't never have to trim them. I've got some that never been trimmed in their life and their feet look just like that. That's something you can easily breed out of if you're not careful.
Like my dad, some of these guys that I consider cracker cowboys, you know, they knew what they wanted in a horse, and it was not necessarily in an arena, or, you know, they didn't use a horse that way. You know, they used him out in the woods. He was a woods horse.
That's what they always call the crackers. Pretty narrow. They're a pretty little narrow horse. You can rope something on them, but you know, like pull a big bull or something, you ain't gonna hardly do that. But they're pretty hardy little horses. Never ride any, you know, people have 2 or 3 they ride. I can ride the same one every day. Yeah, but these horses have always suited me. They don't suit a lot of people, but they do me. I've rode some quarter horses before. I did some for these. These got a little more gas in their tank than me.
Florida faced an unforeseen menace that would forever alter its natural harmony. With the introduction of the cattle fever tick and screwworm, things had to change. One of the most effective ways to treat livestock for these parasites during that time was to utilize large dipping vats filled with a mixture of water and arsenic. This meant a radical change to the management of Florida cattle. This, along with the mandatory fence law of 1949, spelled the end of the free-range cow hunter lifestyle.
They started with basically cracker cattle, and they were upgraded to Brahman. In the late 40s, my dad brought in Hereford bulls to put on those mostly Brahman cows, and developed the Brayford breed. And so it's really the only breed that's been, you know, originated from the east of the Mississippi. We're recognized as the foundation herd. So it's really been kind of the basis of our program. The, you know, Brayfords really thrive here. Most of the Herefords they brought down to breed cows. They don't, half of them died the first year because of the change in environment and stuff. So it takes a particular animal to kind of survive in Florida.
The larger cattle create a different set of circumstances that require a horse capable of meeting those needs. The quarter horse, whose origins go back as far as the 1600s, are a result of Native American horses of Spanish descent combining with thoroughbreds. The resulting horse was a stocky, athletic horse that has become one of the favorite breeds for working cattle.
And from time to time, we've brought in some thoroughbred breeding to give them a little bit more leg and stamina and whatnot. And but as far as cow sense and stuff, it's hard to beat a quarter horse. They're really good to work with.
Since the 30s, the quarter horse has been gaining traction as a horse of choice for the Florida cattlemen. Their size, athleticism, and versatility allows the ranchers to work the larger Brahma, Brayford, and Brangus cattle. Today, the legacy lives on as modern-day cowboys continue the traditions of their predecessors. The training of the horses varies based on the fact that many of those working on the ranch are day workers who are contracted cowboys hired to work on multiple ranches with their own horses and preferences. However, there is a common layout they all follow. Horses begin with a period of groundwork and start under saddle in a round pen, but switch to riding out and develop the rest of their skills on the range. The merits of this style of training reveals itself in the reduction of problems that result from working too early and too long on circles. Increasing the variety of training allows horses to learn good behaviors from other mature horses. The training process reveals differences between Florida cracker horses and quarter horses.
A lot of times the cracker horse, when you first get them, there's a trust thing. It's just that fear factor of overcoming that when you have to kind of teach them, and it takes maybe a year or so to get that confidence in that they're not leery. But they're constantly watching things in the woods. So they're just always aware of what's their surroundings.
I would say you gotta ride one a year or two to really get it finished, would be my opinion on it. Now you can do stuff on them way before that, but to really be finished, I'd say a year or two.
Key factors horses are judged on is traveling well and transitioning from the range-covering work of gathering cattle to the tighter maneuvers of pen work. This is where the hierarchy of a horse's value becomes evident. While many horses can participate in gathering cattle, including the young and inexperienced, in the pen sorting, you could quickly see which horses were preferred, as they were the first chosen for this precise work. As with all aspects of life, management styles are dictated by the environment. There is a variation between the different ranches I visited. However, a consistent theme prevails throughout them all. Most horses are kept in large pastures, unless actively working.
So, it's like our horses, we don't, the mares are out on the pasture. We don't feed them. We don't do anything. They're not undernourished, but they just have to make it on grass.
Those in work reside in barns with attached runs. Florida barns differ from those in the Rocky Mountains, featuring open designs that enhance airflow, keeping them cooler in a hot, humid climate, with some barns being completely open-sided. The intense Florida climate makes for strenuous work, particularly in the summer. The combination of heat, humidity, insects, and the absence of a natural winter break translates to a unique training style. While horses receive some tuning up outside of their daily work, this is kept to a minimum. Once a sufficient foundation is laid to incorporate a horse into daily work, further refinement occurs in the field. The horses learn from keeping up with others and adapting to various scenarios. This training approach maintains professionalism while avoiding tendencies to be overwhelming. The horse's break comes from their time after work with the herd, free from constant human involvement. Our time in Florida proved once again the value of bringing Calypso to further our understanding of each culture we visit. At first glance, there were not many differences between the horsemanship of the Florida cowboy and that of others I've seen. However, with Calypso's presence, it became apparent that the management style and nature of the work has a significant influence over the quality and character of these horses. As Calypso and I started out, I noticed a few behaviors that, although slight, showed that Calypso was not fully on task and in the moment with me. This general restlessness showed itself in her working her bit, both while resting and in work, as well as a lack of attention to my cues, resulting in a delay of action and a lack of precision in what I was asking of her. Initially, I contributed these factors to the amount of stress and novel situations I was asking her to handle. We began our trip with the Florida Cracker Trail, which is an annual cross-Florida ride with many other horses, to gain a feel for the land and wait for an opening with the ranchers I had been in contact with. From there, we moved locations every few days, alternating between staying on ranches and camping, which meant Calypso was constantly changing where she was staying, spending the night everywhere from stalls, eye-lined alongside the trailer, and staying in large pastures with cattle. This provided more than enough reason for an anxious, distracted mindset. Surprisingly, what I came to learn after adopting the management style of the Florida cowboy is that I was in fact encouraging her anxious behavior through my management style. After observing the working relationship of horse and cowboy, I noticed significant differences. The daily needs of the horses were met, but in a manner that made the working mindset a priority. When the horses were tacked up in the morning, they entered this work mindset. From the time they started their day to the work was accomplished, there was no fretting over them. They had water breaks and rest when needed, which coincided with natural breaks in the work, but there was no hay or untacking. Once the work was done, they were untacked, fed, and settled in for the night. Upon noticing this pattern, I began to do the same with Calypso. Within days, her nervous demeanor had subsided, and she took the work in stride. This was proof that it was my management that created her reaction, not the new challenges. By constantly checking in on her and doing multiple things to keep her occupied, I was stopping her from embracing the rhythm of work and rest that created a calm mind. When you think of Florida, most people conjure up images of white sandy beaches, amusement parks, and alligators, but there is so much more. The interior cattle country casts a magical spell over you. The dichotomy of harsh wilderness and breathtaking beauty makes me want to return again and again. And that doesn't even take into account the people I met and all the ranchers who opened up and taught me their traditions. I have always regarded Calypso as my valued adventure partner. But here I learned the importance of balance and removing the weight that intense management can incur. The Florida cowboy values their horses as an essential tool of the trade. This viewpoint creates a distance that substantially benefits the horse's mental stability. They know precisely what is needed of them, and once the job is done, they are back out with their herd, reaping the benefits of being just a horse.
I've had a good life, and I know I got, when I was young, there was a bunch of my family and relatives, them old guys. I got to spend a lot of time with all them guys that was born probably around 1900 or a little after, like my grandfather and a bunch of them. And that's pretty special to me that got to spend that much time with them. Well, we used to work, camp in the woods and have to do all that kind of stuff.
It is essential that these traditions and lifestyles are preserved, and I'm happy to say that with the passionate work of these ranchers, this lifestyle isn't going anywhere.